Part 58. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 576. Bang, bang, bang. Open the door, check the water meter. In the Magic City, a voice suddenly sounded outside Li Shue's room. Hearing the voice, Li Shue, who had packed her luggage and was thinking about something, was startled, then quickly stood up, opened the room, and looked at the person in disbelief. White shirt, jeans, sneakers, a short-haired, sunny, masculine man with his hands in his pockets appeared in front of her. It was Chen Ronghuo. She asked stupidly, why are you here? Didn't you say I would go to Sicheng? Chen Ronghuo touched his head. My mother scolded me, saying how could she let a girl run to Sicheng alone? No matter how powerful you become, your mother will always be your mother. When Chen Ronghuo told Chen's mother about Li Shue's situation, he deeply understood this truth. Really? The girl was a little surprised and felt the feeling of being valued. Before, when she thought about running to Sicheng alone and running to her boyfriend's house, she felt lonely for a while. Seeing Chen Ronghuo now and hearing what Chen Ronghuo said, my heart suddenly warmed up. Yeah. Chen Ronghuo nodded, then thought for a while and said, forgive me for not being good at making girls happy, but I will try my best. It's already very good. Li Shue smiled, showing her white, fine, and neat teeth. Ahem, then, I will start working hard from now on. Chen Ronghuo lifted Li Shue's delicate chin. Xiaoxiu, do you want to experience the feeling of flying? Well, I will take you from the Demon City to Su City. Is it okay? Li Shue showed a bit of surprise. Using the ice wings that Chen Ronghuo gave her not long ago, she can also fly. But both the flying speed and the flying distance are limited. Of course. For Chen Ronghuo, who has been upgraded to level 35, it is not difficult to fly from the Demon City to Su City, even if he takes Li Shue with him. In fact, the reason why he was able to get from Su City to the Demon City so quickly is that he flew all the way here. Now, he is almost a human missile on Earth. Chen Ronghuo looked at Li Shue and said, you can fly the sword with me, or let me carry you on my back. Well, it's okay to hold you. You can choose any posture, whatever you want. Li Shue looked at Chen Ronghuo unhappily, and the barrier of meeting in reality was completely eliminated. Let's fly the sword together. I have been fantasizing about this scene since I was a child. Okay. Chen Ronghuo agreed. Then he helped Li Shue put away her luggage and took Li Shue downstairs. Li Shue. As soon as the two came down from the upstairs, a black car drove on the road and stopped in front of them. Then, a man and a woman, about the same age as Li Shue, walked out of the car. Seeing the two, Li Shue frowned slightly. The woman was Sun Bing and the man was Dong Tianzhou. They were members of the Ability Management Bureau, a newly established organization in the Red Country. The Ability Management Bureau is an organization mainly responsible for matters related to players who gain power in the game. Because of her outstanding performance in the game, she was accidentally known by the people of the Ability Management Bureau and was formally invited to join not long ago. In fact, for her personally, she was not averse to joining the Ability Management Bureau. After all, it is an organization at the national level. So she said at the time that she would consider it. It was just because she had completely confirmed her relationship with Chen Ronghuo this time, and she was about to rush to Su City, so she was a little embarrassed to see Sun Bing and Dong Tianzhou at this time. Sister Sun, this is my boyfriend Chen Ronghuo. I'm really sorry. I plan to go to Su City with my boyfriend and can't join your Magic City Ability Management Bureau. Hearing Li Shue's words, Sun Bing and Dong Tianhuo's faces changed. Level 2 players are nothing in the current Gods game. But on Earth, there are only a few thousand players who can advance to the second level in just over 2 months. These thousands of second-level players are even fewer if they are assigned to the Red Country. If they can invite Li Shui to join their Magic City Ability Management Bureau, it will definitely be a great achievement. However, although Li Shui refused, they can't force it. This is the order from above. Joining or not joining the Ability User Administration is all voluntary. Among them, Dong Tianzhou sighed. Li Shui is so beautiful and a second-level player. As a single dog, he naturally has some ideas. But before his ideas were put into practice, he was hit hard by the appearance of Chen Ronghuo. What a flower! Dong Tianzhou looked at Chen Ronghuo. When he saw that Chen Ronghuo was more handsome and had better temperament than himself, he couldn't help but swallow the second half of his words back into his stomach. Why, do you want to join the Ability User Administration? Seeing Li Shui's expression, Chen Ronghuo asked with a smile, and then he didn't wait for Li Shui to answer, and then he said again, if you want to join, you can also wait until you get to Sicheng and join the Ability User Administration in Sicheng. I'm registered there. You join the Ability User Administration. Li Shui looked at Chen Ronghuo in surprise. Of course, maintaining national peace is the responsibility of every citizen. Chen Ronghuo smiled. Not only me, my parents, and my sister Xiao are also registered in the Sicheng Ability User Management Bureau. You are the one who wants to be my Chen family's daughter-in-law, so you must be no exception. Chen Ronghuo himself has 3 names and can change his appearance without fear of being exposed, but his parents can't. Since Chen's father and mother had a conflict with the people of the 100 Evils Alliance and were on the wanted list of the player forum, people from the country came up and invited the two to join the Ability User Management Bureau. There may have been many unknown debates in this, but Chen Ronghuo is not interested in knowing, he just needs to know the result. And with the ancient book, he doesn't worry about others calculating him. Faced with the invitation, Chen's father and mother did not refuse. By the way, Chen Ronghuo and Chen Xiao are also registered in the Ability User Management Bureau. It's just that the power of the Red Country is still extremely powerful now. In 2 months, nothing has happened that requires Chen's father and mother, or Chen Ronghuo to take action. Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, Li Shui blushed and felt relieved. Chen Ronghuo's secret was too deep. Now that she knew that Chen Ronghuo was on the same side as the country, she felt relieved unconsciously. On the side, Sun Bing and Dong Tianzhou were surprised when they heard Chen Ronghuo say that his family had all registered with the Sicheng Ability Management Bureau. I don't know what the origin of this person in front of me is. You know, the Ability Management Bureau doesn't accept everyone. In addition to ability, they also care about character. People with poor character will never be accepted even if they have enough ability. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chaoji Depang. Chapter 577. After bidding farewell to Sun Bing and Dong Tianzhou, Chen Ronghuo and Li Shui walked around the Demon City for a few times, then used a blind trick to summon the Chaos Flying Sword. Then they pulled Li Shui, stepped on the flying sword, and flew straight to Su City. The flying sword was extremely fast, but under Chen Ronghuo's control, the strong wind that was supposed to hit them fiercely separated automatically after meeting the two of them, turning into a pleasant breeze. Chen Ronghuo asked Li Shui to stand in front of him and gently held her waist with both hands. Li Shui closed her eyes slightly. After being frightened at the beginning, she was finally able to relax and watch the strange mountain peaks pass by below, and the white clouds could be touched at her fingertips. Creation is unpredictable and nature is magical. With the ancient books, it can be said that Chen Ronghuo knows a lot. Whenever he encounters a good scenery, he will give a general introduction. In Chen Ronghuo's soft whispers, Li Shui gradually let go of her shyness, resisted slightly against Chen Ronghuo's gentle tug, and leaned against Chen Ronghuo's body. A layer of mist shrouded down, and no one knew that above the mountains, a flying sword that became like a bed was speeding past. In ancient times, there were many flying swords with various functions. What do you think that's going on? Not long after, the two finally arrived in Su City. As soon as he arrived in Su City, Li Shui, who was blushing, discovered that the mountain range below was filled with official vehicles and countless official personnel scattered throughout the mountains, as if they were searching for something. Chen Ronghuo took his hands away from Li Shui. He just got close to Li Shui and didn't do anything too in-depth. It's not that he doesn't want to, but that Li Shui doesn't have the courage after all. But even so, Li Shui was still ashamed. Seeing Li Shui's appearance, Chen Ronghuo smiled slightly. After trying it for the first time, he found that this kind of thing was really fun. He lowered his gaze and looked into the mountains. I saw hundreds of official personnel in the mountains below. And most of these people are first-level cultivators. With a slight eyebrow raised, Chen Ronghuo began to use ancient books to deduce the cause and effect of the incident. He has broken through to level 35 and is deducing some things on the Earth star. The consumption is negligible to him. After a moment, a stern look flashed in his eyes, and he suddenly turned the flying sword and flew straight to a place deep in the mountains. In a moment, he drove the flying sword to the top of a mountain peak. A giant white wolf more than 2 meters tall was lying in a cave near the top of the mountain, looking at the official personnel in the distance with disdain. There is obviously no such giant wolf on Earth. This is clearly a demon. But in Chen Ronghuo's eyes, this was no ordinary monster. It is a demon transformed from an original human player from Earth. Players can gain many abilities in the Gods game. This player has obviously gained the ability to transform into a demon. And this is actually a player who has broken through to level 2. Roar! Chen Ronghuo and Li Shui suddenly arrived, frightening the player who had transformed into a demon. He ran out of the cave and roared, trying to scare the two away. Click! Chen Ronghuo stretched out his hand and reversed the power of frost, and layers of ice were generated from the giant white wolf. The giant wolf looked frightened and tried to struggle, but it only moved its eyes for a moment and then could no longer move. In an instant, it was frozen into a lifelike ice sculpture. The moment the ice sculpture solidified, a line of lines formed from it, converging into 4 words. The Chen family in Su City. Sometimes, showing some strength can save a lot of trouble. Chen Ronghuo doesn't like trouble. Let's go. Chen Ronghuo shook his head, pulled Li Shui, and the two stepped on the flying sword again and flew home. But as he flew high into the sky, he waved his hand and shot out a 5-color light that reached into the sky to attract the attention of officials in the distance. The world has changed drastically, and the ambitions of some people have begun to emerge. The player who turned into a giant wolf was the one who caused trouble and committed major crimes in the Red Country. And Chen Ronghuo also knew that this was just the beginning. When this update of the Gods game is completed, not only the middle and low-level ability users in the universe will be able to enter the game and become new players. Players can even choose to enter the game in person. After the player enters the game in person, even if he dies, he is dead, but whether he is completing tasks or fighting wild monsters, the experience points gained will be doubled. This is comparable to Chen Ronghuo occupying the first place in the player level rankings. You can imagine how tempting it is to players. He believes that there will definitely be countless players who can't stand this temptation and choose to take risks and enter the game with their real bodies. This is Li Shui, come on, come in quickly. As soon as she arrived home, Chen's mother saw Li Shui and immediately came over. As for Chen Ronghuo on the side, he was completely ignored. Chen Ronghuo looked at his sister behind him. However, Chen Xiao smiled jokingly and greeted Li Shui. Chen Ronghuo shook his head and smiled bitterly. He could only walk into the kitchen and start cooking. Now all the meals for the Chen family have been handed over to him. If this scene was seen by Huang Linho-san and other subordinates, they would definitely be stunned. Xiaoxiu, times have changed now, let's not stick to trivial matters. Since you have established a relationship with Ronghuo, you can treat this place as your home from now on. After a sumptuous dinner, there was a conversation at the table. Mother Chen was very satisfied with Li Shui, whether in appearance or other aspects. Of course, the most important thing is that Chen Ronghuo was taught by her. She believed in Chen Ronghuo's vision. Li Shui's face was a little red. This time, she came to Chen's house at the invitation of Chen Ronghuo. It was too hasty. Some things were not thought out at all. Wait a minute, I'll let Xiao clean up a room for you. Mother Chen continued to speak with a smile, but did not give Li Shui a chance to refuse. In fact, if she was not worried about scaring Li Shui, she wanted Li Shui to follow Chen Ronghuo and get the marriage certificate immediately. Suburbs of Sicheng. Tonghua Mountain. After Chen Ronghuo and Li Shui left on the sword, a group of people, guided by the five-color light, rushed to the giant wolf that was frozen into an ice sculpture, and looked at each other in surprise. This giant wolf can restrain its breath, and some modern equipment has no effect on it. They tracked it for a long time, but never caught up. No one expected that this giant wolf would appear in front of them in this way. Look, there are words on this ice sculpture. Suddenly, someone exclaimed. Words. A group of people looked closely and saw that on the ice on the right side of the giant wolf's body, 4 big words appeared from the inside out. Sicheng Chen family. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chaoji Depang. Chapter 578. This method, I don't know which person in the Chen family did it. On Tonghua Mountain, the head of the Sicheng Ability Management Bureau shook his head after seeing the handwriting on the giant wolf ice sculpture. The Sicheng Chen family is known to many bigwigs in the Red Country. Now the influence of the Game of Gods is well known. The major lists in the Game of Gods are naturally well known. Although the Dark Alliance's wanted list is not an official list, it is just a list that the Dark Alliance has made on the player forum. But Chen's father and mother, who ranked 3rd and 4th respectively, are still well known by many players. As the largest country on Earth, the Red Country with a population of tens of billions, naturally knew that Chen's father and mother were citizens of its own country at the first time. It is conceivable that when this matter is exposed, how much impact it will have in the Red Country. The Dark Alliance is a well-known big force in the entire universe. Chen's father and mother were on the wanted list of the Dark Alliance in the Game of Gods. If they could kill the two, the reward they could get would definitely exceed the imagination of countless people. However, Earth is too remote. From ancient times to now, they have never had any contact with other forces in the universe, and they don't even know where the Dark Alliance is. In addition, the special ability of Chen's mother that was exposed was the ability of teleportation, which directly made some people give up the idea of taking violent measures against the Chen family. On Earth, the ability of teleportation is an invincible ability that cannot be solved. If violent means are taken against the Chen family, but Chen's mother cannot be killed, then it can be imagined that the people who participated in the action will definitely face the most terrifying revenge. Take this ice sculpture back and report the matter. The incident on Tonghua Mountain was just a small episode for Chen Ronghuo. The Game of Gods was updated, and Chen Ronghuo rarely had a whole day to relax. After dinner, he took Li Shui to visit Sicheng. Li Shui's hometown is also in Sicheng. However, not long after she went to college, her grandmother passed away, so she only returned to Sicheng a few times. Each stay was extremely short. As they played, their feelings for each other quickly heated up. On the second day, Chen Ronghuo took a bold move and took Li Shui to a certain department to get the certificate. This kind of thing is of no practical use to him. But getting this thing can also be regarded as an explanation to the girl, which can make the girl feel at ease. Chen's mother smiled and gave great affirmation to Chen Ronghuo's decisiveness. Even immediately afterwards, she began to arrange a formal wedding date for the two. The busy day passed quickly. The next day, the update of the Gods game was over. The players who had been waiting for a day logged into the game together, all wanting to see what the Gods game had updated. Chen Ronghuo was no exception. However, he entered the game alone and did not bring Li Shui. This time he logged into the game, he planned to quickly advance to the 4th level. It was not appropriate to bring Li Shui. So he handed Li Shui over to his sister Chen Xiao. With Chen Xiao's incredible luck, Li Shui would definitely not suffer any loss if she followed her. It might even be faster than if she followed him. After entering the game, a stream of messages immediately flooded into his mind. As expected. After receiving all the messages, Chen Ronghuo shook his head slightly. Then he opened the player forum and watched the discussions of the players above. Shock, after this game update, all the 3rd level and lower ability users in the universe can use the login crystal to log into the Gods game. And as long as someone on the leaderboard breaks through to the 4th level, the 4th level abilities in the universe will also be able to join the game. In this way, where is the way out for low-level players like us? Have you really read all the updated content? Players who log in later cannot accept any tasks in the game within half a year, the experience points gained from killing monsters are halved, and they cannot be on the level ranking list. Have you read it? And after this game update, players can directly log into the game with their real bodies in the future, and the experience points gained by logging in with their real bodies are doubled. In this way, everyone has a chance. Fight. This is exchanging life for level. If you are not careful, you will die. I don't know how many players, after seeing the updated content this time, immediately logged into the forum and began to write their own opinions on it, or look for posts that share the same views as their own. Chen Ronghuo roughly scanned these posts and then fixed his eyes on a conspicuous post. This post was jointly released by the major forces in the universe, including the 5 Spirit Star Domain, the Divine Wind Star Domain, the Lightning Star Domain, the Thunder Star Domain, the Dark Star Domain, and the 100 Evil Star Domain. The players wanted in the whole game, all the gods kneel down, the almighty old monster, the bright god, the rich man, the Thunder King, the Netherworld regrets, I am the old monster, the Black Witch, the Yang Yushin, the 1,000 Knights of the Universe, the bright moon in the sky, the Nameless, Alpha, Angras. This list actually lists all the top 100 players in the player level rankings. In other words, from this moment on, all players on the level rankings will be wanted. All players who provide clues will receive large rewards from the Alliance. Surprise, I got inside information. It is said that the top 100 players in the player rankings are all the reincarnations of the past gods in the world of gods. Damn, if that's the case, I understand why I can't make this list. So, the forces in the 5 Spirit Star region, the Light Star region, the Kamikaze Star region and other major star regions are planning to kill the gods. MMP, this is the god of slaughter. I get excited just thinking about it. I am now in Xi'an City in the west of the Shenlong Empire. A large number of 2nd and 3rd level players have flooded into Xi'an City. Some of them have already started to take action. They are in important public places such as the Golden Temple, the Auction House, and the player free trading market. Manpower was deployed. All players entering these places must be inspected. It is estimated that once a player on the wanted list comes over, he will be discovered. I'm looking forward to it. I wonder what the expressions of those gods in the past would be like if they knew that our major star regions had such a big reaction, and whether they would hold their heads and cry. What I'm most looking forward to are the gods kneeling and the almighty old monster. One of them has occupied the 1st place in the level list for so long, and the other has occupied the 2nd place in the level list for so long. I don't know if they will be replaced by each other this time. The big forces pushed him down from the altar. Chen Ronghuo scanned the messages one by one, and a sneer gradually appeared on the corner of his mouth. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chaoji Depeng. Chapter 579. Chen Ronghuo used a sleight of hand to conceal his figure, soared into the sky, and flew straight to the nearest Binjian city. In the original world of gods, the third-level warriors were called sky warriors. It means that they can fly in the air. With Chen Ronghuo's strength, after his level broke through to level 35, the means of flying he used were far superior to others. Even if he needed to deliberately avoid some demonized lives that he could not deal with his current strength, it didn't take long for him to return to Binjian City. In the world of gods today, there are three major forces, namely the Dragon Empire, the Taishu Empire, and the Five Elements Alliance. These three forces were created by the three 14th level strongmen, the 10-horned dragon, the Taishu Saint Lord, and the King of the Five Elements, who had dealt with Chen Ronghuo in the past. In the final battle, the 10-horned dragon, the Taishu Saint Lord, and the King of the Five Elements were all severely injured, and they had no choice but to be forced to transform into NPCs. The power they created was the result of the game running automatically during the 80,000 years since he left. Binjian City is a small city in the east of the Dragon Empire. However, even in such a small city, there are millions of people. The city lord of Binjian City is a 4th-level cultivator. But it is said that there are powerful 5th-level cultivators hidden in Binjian City. As soon as Chen Ronghuo returned to Binjian City, he found that something was wrong here. At the gate of Binjian City, a row of dozens of players gathered. The lowest level of these players is also the 2nd level. The highest level has reached the 3rd level. One of them, in terms of level, has reached level 40. Only one level away from upgrading to the 4th level. In terms of level, it is even higher than Chen Ronghuo. At this time, these people are blocking the gate of Binjian City. All players entering and leaving Binjian City must be checked by them. Just one glance, Chen Ronghuo knew that these players were all new players who joined the game of gods. If it weren't for the newly joined players, they would not be able to enter the ranking list within half a year, and Chen Ronghuo would have been pushed down from the ranking list. You came quickly. There were so many people at the gate of Binjian City, and there were probably more newly joined players in Binjian City. After a slight pause, Chen Ronghuo appeared from a distance and strode towards the gate of Binjian City without showing any fear. Did your friend not have time to return to the city after playing in the wild before? As soon as Chen Ronghuo approached, a person from the group of players walked out and smiled at him. How is it? How is the harvest? We are players of the Ice God Alliance. My name is I want to eat big ice. Let's add a friend, more friends, more ways. If friends want to sell anything in the future, they can find me. Ice God Alliance. Chen Ronghuo's eyes seemed to light up. Okay, my name is Ping Fanfan. Wait a minute, I will submit a friend application. As he spoke, he searched for the name I want to eat big ice on the friend page of the attribute panel, and then chose to add a friend. Generally speaking, after players add each other as friends, they can see each other's names and their respective levels. But this has no effect on Chen Ronghuo. He used a special account, which not only had 3 game names, but each game name had the feature of preventing all detection. This feature of preventing detection is not to blur when the other party detects, but to change some things according to his wishes. Ordinary. Level 23. After accepting Chen Ronghuo's friend request, I want to eat big ice and saw Chen Ronghuo's game name and his level on the friend list, and I was a little disappointed. In more than 2 months, Chen Ronghuo was able to break through from level 0 to level 23, which can really be said to be good. But it is obvious that Chen Ronghuo is not the person he is looking for. Friends are on the road. Okay, in this case, then I won't waste the time of brother Ping Pingfan here. I want to eat. Big Ice waved his hand and made a gesture of invitation to Chen Ronghuo. Chen Ronghuo smiled, nodded, and walked into Binjian City slowly. In the eastern part of the Dragon Empire, there are players from Earthstar in dozens of cities, including Binjian City. Therefore, Chen Ronghuo does not intend to deal with these people here. After walking into Binjian City, Chen Ronghuo did not hesitate and went directly to the teleportation array of Binjian City. The teleportation array of Binjian City is located in the center of Binjian City. In addition to being able to teleport to some special places nearby, through this teleportation array, you can also teleport to some cities in the Dragon Empire. Near the teleportation array of Binjian City, there are also players from the Bingshen Alliance who have just joined the game guarding, but Chen Ronghuo did the same as before and soon got permission to use the teleportation array. Send me to Xi'an City. After giving some gold coins to the guards of Binjian City, Chen Ronghuo said a place name he had seen on the forum before. Xi'an City is located in the west of the Dragon Empire, far away from Binjian City. However, using the teleportation array, it can still be quickly reached. In the original world of the gods, the teleportation array has not yet been widely used. It was only after the world of gods was transformed into the game world that the technology of teleportation array began to be widely used. A small town like Binjian City, and even the novice town A666666 where he stayed before, had teleportation arrays. Buzz. As the teleportation array flashed, Chen Ronghuo looked at the players of the Ice God Alliance who had just joined the game standing around the teleportation array, and a slight sneer appeared on his face. These players who came from the same universe as him did not know that their actions had touched taboos. The game of gods is not only a game, but also a real world. They interfered with the operation of Binjian City in this way. It would not take long for the officials of Binjian City, even the Dragon Empire, and even the three major forces of the game of gods to react. By then, if these people still did not repent, they would definitely face a thunderbolt from the local forces of the world of gods. However, for Chen Ronghuo himself, he hoped that the official reaction of the three major forces would be as slow as possible. Because only in this way could he get more experience points from these self-righteous players. The picture flashed in front of him, and Chen Ronghuo had already appeared in Xi'an City. After dealing with the interrogation in the same way as before, Chen Ronghuo merged into Xi'an City with the surging flow of people in Xi'an City. However, more than 10 minutes later, he changed his appearance without anyone noticing. This appearance was exactly the appearance he showed when he killed several players of the Fire God Alliance before, kneeling before the gods. After doing this, Chen Ronghuo swaggered out of Xi'an City. In the gods game, fighting is prohibited in all cities. Even with Chen Ronghuo's strength, he dare not cause chaos in the city now. Thanks to life for another reward of 10,000 at landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chaoji Depeng. Chapter 580. The sun was very bright. Suitable for a big battle. Suitable for killing. After Chen Ronghuo changed his appearance, he moved his body and flew directly into the air, heading for the city gate. Xi'an City has a population of millions, so the city is naturally huge. If he only traveled on foot, he didn't know how long it would take to reach the city gate unless he flew all the way. The guards in the city saw Chen Ronghuo and did not stop him. The cultivators who can fly are all strong and are allowed to fly in the city. However, even cultivators who can fly must pass through the city gate, otherwise they will be regarded as a provocation to Xi'an City. Along the way, Chen Ronghuo saw many new players entering the game. The world of gods is a world much older than the universe where the Earth star is located. In comparison, the universe where the Earth star is located is just a newborn world. But ancient does not mean huge. New does not mean weak foundation. In fact, the strong people in the world of gods are indeed much more than those in the universe where the Earth star is located, but the size of the universe where the Earth star is located is much larger than that of the world of gods. The total number of lives in the universe is also much more than that of the world of gods. There are countless strange things hidden in it that have not yet been explored. It can be imagined that if the universe where the Earth star is located is given some more time, this universe may not be able to surpass the world of gods in terms of power level in the future. However, there is no if. The fusion of the three worlds of the world of gods, the black magic star world, and the Earth star universe will surely merge into a strange and magical existence. Chen Ronghuo's speed is very fast, and his figure is flying in Xi'an City. Few people can see his appearance clearly. Some people just feel that their eyes are black, and Chen Ronghuo's figure has disappeared. Swish. Not long after, Chen Ronghuo's figure flashed and fell from the gate of Xi'an City. After a slight signal to the guards here, Chen Ronghuo strode out of Xi'an City. Just like outside Binjian City, outside Xi'an City, there were dozens of people wandering not far away, checking players entering and leaving Xi'an City. Friend, you are going out alone. As soon as Chen Ronghuo walked out of Xi'an City, one of the dozens of people immediately came out and greeted him. At the beginning, this person just wanted to get by and check Chen Ronghuo routinely, but when he raised his head and set his eyes on Chen Ronghuo's face, his steps suddenly stopped. At the same time, his face trembled involuntarily. And the words he just said halfway were directly stuck. Kneel down, gods. The figure who killed 3 second-level players of the Fire God Alliance not long ago. Since the beginning of the Game of Gods, he has dominated the first place in the level rankings from beginning to end. Now he has surpassed everyone and directly raised his level to level 35. There are even some news that the one who kneels down is likely to be the reincarnation of a powerful being among the gods in the world of gods. With all these titles, no one would not be in awe of Chen Ronghuo's current appearance. Not to mention that the player who came up had just entered the second level. He looked at Chen Ronghuo as if he was looking at a towering and insurmountable mountain. Seeing a player coming up, Chen Ronghuo immediately raised his head. His eyes were as sharp as a sword, revealing an amazing sharpness that seemed to be able to pierce people's eyes. This time he came with the intention of killing, and he also wanted to brew the momentum of killing. Kill, kill, kill. The amazing killing intent burst out from Chen Ronghuo's eyes, as if it turned into a sword light, making his eyes flash with a hint of blood red. The players who were facing Chen Ronghuo were swept by Chen Ronghuo's eyes and suddenly felt as if they had come to the Shura field, where there were flying sword lights, broken heads, and blood everywhere. Ah, don't kill me. Suddenly, the player let out a creepy scream and turned around and fled in panic, as if he had encountered something extremely terrifying. What happened? Seeing the abnormality of this player, other players in the distance were suddenly startled and hurriedly looked towards Chen Ronghuo. Scream! But just as their eyes turned around, they were attracted by a brilliant sword light. The sword light was like the Milky Way in the sky hanging down, and when it fell, it had an indescribable attraction, as if it could attract people's souls. Not good. The leading player in the group reacted, he shouted and broke free from the attraction of the sword light, but when he broke free, the sword light had already brought the sound of wind and thunder, and with a swoosh, it tore through the airflow and cut off the head of the player who had stepped forward before. Then the sword light swirled and was lightly caught by the man who walked out of the city. You killed the player 21st level Xiao Mumu. Because you killed a player, the experience points you got doubled. Because you entered the game in your true body, the experience points you got doubled again. Because you ranked first in the level rankings, the experience points you got doubled again. Seeing the kill record on the attribute panel, Chen Rong grinned and couldn't help but smile. This time he logged into the game in his true body. That is to say, if he kills a player in his current state, he can get 8 times the experience points of killing a monster of the same level. Kneel down, gods. At this time, the leading player on the opposite side finally recognized Chen Ronghuo. Following the other players who came to their senses one after another, they also broke out in cold sweat and knew that the person in front of them was actually the most important target of their action this time. For them, when they received this task, they knew that their task this time was actually just to limit the development of those players on the level ranking list. As for killing the players on the level ranking list, it was not realistic. Those people are not fools. Knowing that so many people are looking for them, how could they rush out stupidly and seek death? However, the person in front of them obviously did not play by the rules. He actually walked out of the gate of Xi'an City openly and killed one of them in front of a group of them. Report: the gods have knelt at the gate of the east gate of Xi'an City. We have fought with him. Request support, request support. Without hesitation, the leading player quickly notified the news of Chen Ronghuo's appearance. At the same time, when he sent the message, he gritted his teeth, waved his hand, and surrounded Chen Ronghuo with a group of his men. Anyway, he didn't come here in person, so if he died, he died. Do everything possible to delay time, and support will arrive soon. The order from above came quickly. How is it, has the message been spread? Chen Ronghuo stood with a sword in his hand, with an unpredictable smile on his face. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chaoji Depang. Chapter 581. True body, he actually entered the game with his true body. In the Wood Spirit Star territory, the player Xiao Mumu, who was killed by Chen Ronghuo as soon as he met, exited the game, and his face suddenly showed an extremely ferocious look after being in a daze for a while. When he was killed by Chen Ronghuo, the death record on his attribute panel clearly stated that he was killed by Chen Ronghuo with his real body. Gods of the past, haha, I want you to die. True body, haha. Inform the Dark Alliance, the alliance of all evils, the Wind God Empire, the Light Empire. The gods kneeled down and appeared in Xi'an City. Intensify the efforts to collect money, use the teleportation array, and transfer 1/3 of the people from nearby cities to Xi'an City. Order our players in Xi'an City to leave the city immediately and surround and kill the gods before they kneel down. In the Wood Spirit Star territory, after receiving the news that Chen Ronghuo had appeared in Xi'an City, the head of the Wood Spirit Star territory, who was dedicated to siege the level rankings, a young man in green official uniform of the Wood Spirit Star territory, issued an order in a leisurely manner. Ordered one by one. Sir, new news. Our people have started fighting with gods kneeling. One of the players was killed by gods kneeling on the spot. After he exited the game, news came that gods kneeling entered in his true form. Game. What? When the young person in charge heard the news, his pupils suddenly shrank, as if he had heard something incredible. In fact, he didn't pay much attention to the players on the ranking list this time. Because those players on the level rankings are not fools. How could they still jump out if they knew they were going to be killed? In addition, every player has multiple lives in the game, and those who are likely to be gods from the past are even more so. Even if their people can really kill them, the most they can do is prevent those beings from gaining experience points for a month. But Chen Ronghuo, who entered in his true form, was not among them. Order. The young commander-in-chief of the Wood Spirit Star territory immediately roared loudly, notify the Dark Alliance, the alliance of all evils, and the Kamikaze Empire again. When we received the news, the gods knelt down and appeared in Xi'an City in their true form, asking them to hurry up support. In addition, order all our players in the cities near Xi'an City to immediately take the teleportation array and rush to Xi'an City. Instruct all the players in Xi'an City to divide 300 people and drag the gods to their knees. The others will all use teleportation arrays to teleport to various leveling points around Xi'an City. Then they will launch a full-scale attack to surround the gods and kneel down. Xi'an City. Chen Ronghuo, who had changed into black plainclothes, stood with his sword in hand and looked at the dozens of players in front of him who were at least level 2 or above and were surrounding him without any fear in their expressions. Even with a hint of contempt. Today, he came here in his true form, which can be said to have given these people a chance. But if you want to kill him, you have to pay the price. At this moment, the third-level player Beiwasha, who was the leader among the dozens of people on the opposite side, suddenly received an order from above again. Find ways to delay time. Don't fight with the gods. He enters the game in his true form. All your actions are based on delaying. You can delay as much time as you can. Beiwasha's expression immediately changed as his consciousness swept over the news. This news came too late. At this time, he had already led his men 7 or 8 meters away from Chen Ronghuo. Who are you? Why did you attack my people? Do we have some misunderstanding? As a last resort, Beiwasha could only wave his hand to stop his men from approaching Chen Ronghuo. He bit the bullet and spoke to Chen Ronghuo. Misunderstand? A strange smile appeared on Chen Ronghuo's face. It seems that you have spread the news. Yin. Suddenly, Chen Rong fired his hand. Accompanied by this shot, the sound of swords suddenly sounded, and the flying sword in his hand instantly turned into a brilliant stream of light, streaking across the sky, and went straight to kill the dozens of people in front of him. The sharp and terrifying sword light can kill people with just one strike. The murderous intention of the tape was not hidden at all. Kill. Seeing Chen Ronghuo taking action without any warning, Beiwasha yelled immediately, knowing that his plan to delay time would no longer work. Now it was up to him how long they could sustain in Chen Ronghuo's hands. Or, Chen Ronghuo is basically an embroidered pillow. Without reinforcements, dozens of them can defeat Chen Ronghuo here with more than the minority. Boom boom boom. This time, the players who had been prepared for a long time immediately burst out with strength when they saw Chen Ronghuo take action and heard the order of Beiwa kill. The warrior raised his fist to break through the air. The warlock mobilizes mana with the power of his soul to cast spells, either condensing green vines to wrap around Chen Ronghuo, or condensing illusory ancient trees as thick as buckets to collide with Chen Ronghuo. Among them, the 100 flowers killing summoned all kinds of strange flowers with a wave of his hand, formed 100 flowers killing formation, and fell towards Chen Ronghuo. Puff puff puff. Only. The brilliant sword light emitted by Chen Ronghuo was pressed down layer by layer, like thousands of hectares of waves, falling layer by layer, smashing countless fist lights and various spells into pieces in the blink of an eye, turning them into fluttering the aura dissipated. Even if dozens of people joined forces, even if there was a level 37 player like Beiwasha who was higher than Chen Ronghuo, they were still no match for Chen Ronghuo. The sword light descended, and many players showed fear in their eyes. Die! 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 Chen Ronghuo's eyes were as sharp as a sword, watching the players die in front of him without any emotion. He had experienced too many battles. Today's battle was really just a piece of cake for him. Not to mention that these people in front of him, even if they died, they would only enter the game within a month and could not gain experience points, not really dead. Plop plop. One by one, the players fell to the ground and died, and then their figures dispersed and exited the game. Whoosh. Suddenly, as Chen Ronghuo drew his hand, the flying sword fell into his hand like a bird returning to its nest, and the dozens of players blocking him suddenly. Only one person was still standing there. The others had all been annihilated by his sword that was as sharp as the tide. Tick. Chen Ronghuo held the flying sword upside down, and a drop of blood dripped from the sword. Then the whole sword body returned to its original dazzling state without a trace of filth. Chen Ronghuo raised his head and looked at the only person who could still stand in the field, an ordinary second-level player, and said lightly, "I have limited time. Tell your superiors to send 50 people to me to kill within 1 minute. If the people are not gathered within 1 minute, I will leave here immediately." Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chaoji Depang. Chapter 582. Hua Beisha was killed. Even though he was a level 3 player like Chen Ronghuo, and even higher than Chen Ronghuo, his head was cut off outside Xi'an City when Chen Ronghuo swept his sword. These new players had no experience in the game, which meant that they did not have much equipment that matched them. This was even more true for Beiwasha, a level 3 player. After all, before this, in the entire game, there was no player above level 3 except Chen Ronghuo. Beiwasha and others died and left the game. In addition to Chen Ronghuo, there was only an ordinary level 2 player named De Mumu left. When Chen Ronghuo's sword light swept through, De Mumu was penetrated by the sword energy, and his internal organs were bleeding, leaving him with only the strength to barely stand. Obviously, the reason why he could still stand, or still stay here, was undoubtedly the result of Chen Ronghuo's mercy. "Why, you didn't understand what I said." Chen Ronghuo saw that the player opened his mouth but didn't take any action, and he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He entered the game in his true body, and staying here would undoubtedly be very dangerous. If he wants to stay here, those so-called God-killing alliance people must pay enough lives. Puff, the player spat out a mouthful of blood, but didn't dare to neglect it, and hurriedly said, "I understand, I'll send a message now." He was pale, and his heart was even more bitter. Looking at Chen Ronghuo, it was as if he was looking at a big demon. And it was a big demon that was so arrogant that people had nothing to say. "We are from the God-slaying alliance. We want to kill you, but you don't hide and walk out in a swagger, so what are you doing now? Block the city gate. When you block the city gate, you still threaten us with the fact that we want to kill you, and ask us to send at least 50 people to you every minute to kill. You are too bold, aren't you?" De Mumu was speechless, but he didn't dare to neglect it. He sent Chen Ronghuo's words to the higher UPS intact. Arrogant. Domineering. Shameless. When the top leaders of the God-slaying alliance learned of Chen Ronghuo's request, they almost vomited blood collectively. "MMP, we are the hunters. Kill. This audacious guy must be killed. Of course, before that, find 50 people in Xi'an City and send them to him to kill. It's impossible not to kill people for Chen Ronghuo. After all, they haven't made arrangements yet. If they act in advance, they will probably lose all their efforts. So they must use this method to delay time. In addition, other people in Xi'an City, hurry to the gate of Xi'an City as soon as possible to ensure that they can go out of the city and kill the gods as soon as possible. Notify the Dark Alliance, the 100 Evils Alliance, the Kamikaze Empire, let them hurry up and make arrangements. Gather everyone in Xi'an City as soon as possible. The gods must have a huge trump card to dare to act like this, but this time, since he dared to enter the game in person, even if there is only a slight possibility, we must do our best to keep him." After the order was issued, the forces of the Muling Star region immediately started to operate at high speed. At the same time, the Dark Alliance, the 100 Evils Alliance, Kamikaze, and the Bright Empire, who received the news that Chen Ronghuo entered the game in person, also began to mobilize the players who entered the game of the gods this time and marched towards Xi'an City on a large scale. Even if they are on the wanted list, there are also differences in level. As the first person on the level list, Chen Ronghuo is obviously the one they want to kill the most. This time, this opportunity is absolutely not to be missed for all of them. Collect money with all your strength. Mobilize the 5 spirit armor and go all out. Bring enough blood soul stones and prepare to set up the formation. In the game of the gods, the fastest way for players to rush from one city to another is to use the teleportation array between cities. However, the use of the teleportation array requires enough money. This kind of money is not the popular money in the major star regions of the universe where the Earth star is located, but the popular money in the world of the gods. Therefore, all major forces have increased their efforts to collect money at this moment. There are countless players who have joined the game of the gods, but most of them are still in novice towns and novice villages. Each of these players does not have much money, but if all are gathered together, it is definitely a considerable amount. At this time, the major forces are collecting money by using the money of the Earth Star universe to buy the money of the game of the gods. In addition, because most of the things in the Earth Star universe, except for clothes, cannot be brought into the gods game, the so-called 5 spirit armor, blood soul stone, etc. of the major forces are also treasures refined by them using the materials collected by the players in their forces in the game. Even the refining of these treasures must be done by the players. Otherwise, they cannot be brought into the game. Time passed by second. When it was 40 seconds, Chen Ronghuo saw that no player came out of the city gate. He sneered and said to Domumu, who was barely standing in front of him, "I will give you another 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, if no one shows up, I will leave here immediately." For him, every minute and every second is precious. Damn! Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, Domumu cursed in his heart. But he didn't dare to say anything more, and hurriedly spread Chen Ronghuo's meaning. Delay time, now we must delay time. Soon, the high-level members of the God-slaying alliance who got the news also cursed. They cursed Chen Ronghuo for being shameless. They had never seen such a person before. However, before they were ready, they had to act according to Chen Ronghuo's ideas. Die. Suddenly, just after Chen Ronghuo's words were spread, 50 players suddenly rushed out of the gate of Xi'an City in the distance. As soon as these players came out, they launched their offensives, trying to kill Chen Ronghuo on the spot. But the bright sword light emitted from Chen Ronghuo's hand was like a fatal divine light, flashing continuously, and each flash would take away a life. 1, 2, 3. In a short time, the 50 players who came to kill him all died in his hands. However, after killing these players, Chen Ronghuo was not happy, but frowned, sending a group of early second-level stuff. "You think I am easy to fool?" He suddenly raised his head and looked at Domumu. "Tell your boss that I will give him another 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, I want him to send me another 50 people. This time, there must be at least 5 players above the 3rd level among the 50 people. Otherwise, I will leave immediately. Of course, if he thinks he is ready, he can also send all your people out, so that I can see what kind of feast you have prepared for me." Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chaoji Dupang. Chapter 583. Chen Ronghuo was extremely unhappy. The 50 people sent to him by the so-called God-slaying alliance were all players at the early stage of the 2nd stage. And those players were all new players who joined the game, and they had almost no treasures on them. Killing them, he only gained some fixed experience points. Other than that, he didn't even get a hair. MMP. I risked my life and entered the game with my real body to give you the opportunity to kill me. Are you going to pay this price? No. Absolutely not. Chen Ronghuo knew it very well. When Domumu heard Chen Ronghuo's request, his body shook and he almost fell to the ground. Are we going to kill you or are you going to kill us? Are there people like you who are so good after getting the advantage? But he had to report Chen Ronghuo's words to the upper level without changing the original party. There was no way. Chen Ronghuo was the boss at this time. Before they were fully prepared, with Chen Ronghuo's strength, if he wanted to escape, he could probably escape directly. Let alone anything else. At this time, Chen Ronghuo was so close to Xi'an city. If he broke into the city regardless of everything, who would dare to attack Chen Ronghuo in the city? So, at this time, no matter what excessive demands Chen Ronghuo had, they had to indulge him. Kill. A second-level peak warrior player jumped down from the city wall with great righteousness, his heavy body landed on the ground, and his right foot dug into the ground. Suddenly, a large amount of gray soil and rocks, like a sandstorm, enveloped Chen Ronghuo. Players had to go through the city gate to enter and exit Xi'an city. Entering and exiting from the city wall would be punished by Xi'an city. But at this time, this player had obviously put life and death aside, holding the idea of not caring about the flood after death, and naturally would not be afraid of the so-called punishment of Xi'an city. Hissing. Chen Ronghuo pointed his finger, and the flying sword flew across the air, as if ignoring the space. In the blink of an eye, the scattered sword light intercepted all the yellow sand, and then rushed forward again, and pierced through the player's heart with a puff. The bursting sharp sword energy rushed around in the player's body like an uncontrolled flood. Puff. The player spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Kill. A roar. This time, a new level 32 player who joined the game flew down from the city wall, like a red sun, with blood all over his body, and raised his fist to strike angrily. The interval between him and the previous player who jumped down from the city wall was only a little more than a second. This is somewhat possible. Chen Ronghuo's eyes lit up, and he did not send out the flying sword he had swung before. He directly increased the power of the sword, pulling the flying sword to vibrate in the air, and instantly transformed into 3 identical flying swords, forming a 3-talent formation, and killed the player. Swish, swish, swish. The sword light flickered in the void, bringing up a gorgeous light curtain, like a flashing neon light at night. The player attacked violently, carrying amazing flames, punching at Chen Ronghuo, but all the flaming fists he hit were torn apart when they encountered Chen Ronghuo's sword light. It was like an embroidered pillow, without any effect. Puff. Then, just a little more than a second, Chen Ronghuo's sword light flickered to the extreme, and a sword slashed across the player's head, cutting off his head. Blood spurted out. Come again. Chen Ronghuo shouted. Although the God-slaying alliance did not follow his request and send 50 people to kill him at once, he could accept that one person was killed every few seconds, and the people sent were of a certain level. Damn it! The people of the God-slaying alliance were excited and wanted to rush forward and bury Chen Ronghuo. But now, they must put the overall situation first. Go. Don't let him leave the combat state. On the city wall, Yi Tianmuo, the temporary battlefield commander of the Battle of Xi'an City in the Mushan Star domain, spoke coldly. He chose to send one person to Chen Ronghuo to kill every 1 or 2 seconds, with the purpose of preventing Chen Ronghuo from leaving the combat state. If he does not leave the combat state, Chen Ronghuo cannot exit the game. In other words, it is not that he cannot exit. But exiting is equivalent to death. And this time, Chen Ronghuo entered the game with his real body. Once he died, he would really die. Kill. Another warrior jumped down from the city wall and killed Chen Ronghuo. Seeing this player, Chen Ronghuo stretched out his hand and wiped the corner of his mouth, secretly swallowed a Xuanhuan pill and a Yanghuan pill, and then another sword light flew out and slashed at this player. Xuanhuan pill was made by him from a rare spiritual medicine Xuanhuan grass, which can replenish the power of sword control. Yanghuan pill can replenish the power of the soul. Although the battle is now, his consumption is not serious. But it is better to be prepared. After all, he didn't plan to just swing the sword a few times this time. This time, he had to swing at least thousands or tens of thousands of swords. When Chen Ronghuo blocked the gate of Xi'an City, facing countless eyes, and slaughtered the players of the God-slaying alliance. The players of the God-slaying alliance in various cities also rushed to Xi'an city like locusts. Some of the players who poured into Xi'an city rushed to the city wall, ready to face Chen Ronghuo head-on, while some of them were teleported to the leveling points around Xi'an city through the teleportation array again. Then these players started from the leveling points and surrounded Chen Ronghuo outside Xi'an city. If you stand in the sky, you can see that at this moment, with Chen Ronghuo as the center, the God-slaying alliance has almost laid a net of heaven and earth. In a short period of time, the alliance formed for the purpose of killing gods has deployed more than 100,000 people in Xi'an city. And this number is still soaring rapidly. Such a large-scale action naturally attracted the attention of the Xi'an city lord's mansion. However, according to the rules, when the players did not violate the rules of Xi'an city, they could not take action against the players now, and could only report the matter to the Dragon Empire. Shocking news, the Slaughter Alliance found the number 1 on the ranking list, God's Kneel, in Xi'an city of the Dragon Empire. The two sides are now fighting. God's Kneel blocked the city gate alone and killed the God Slaughter Alliance. There are pictures and the truth. At the same time, someone also exposed this matter on the player forum. In the picture, Chen Ronghuo stood alone outside Xi'an city, holding a flying sword and pointing at Xi'an city. Looking very domineering. Nonsense, I am also in Xi'an city, and I am standing on the city wall to watch this battle. God's Kneel is indeed powerful, but he dared to fight against the God Slaughter Alliance alone. He is definitely digging his own grave and seeking his own death. If you don't believe it, just watch. In less than 5 minutes, he will kneel on the ground with a plop. If he doesn't kneel, I will eat shit live. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chaoji Depang. Chapter 584. After Chen Ronghuo blocked the gate of Xi'an city and asked the people of the God-slaying alliance to send people to him to kill, the news broke out all of a sudden after being posted on the player forum. Countless players went to the forum and discussed it. Some people thought Chen Ronghuo was too arrogant, while others thought Chen Ronghuo was too domineering. However, on the other side of these discussions, almost everyone thought that Chen Ronghuo was seeking his own death by doing this. Even though everyone knew that if the rumors were true, Chen Ronghuo was really one of the gods in the past and must have a trump card, they were not optimistic about Chen Ronghuo. Because this time, there were too many people who participated in the siege of Chen Ronghuo. Hundreds of thousands of players besieged. No matter how powerful you are, what can you do? The God-slaying alliance has done its best to mobilize manpower. What big advantage do they have? How can they lose? They can't lose even if they want to. After all, no matter how powerful Chen Ronghuo is, he is just a third-level player. However, in addition to these players who are discussing it, there is another type of player who is also silently paying attention to the outcome of this incident through the player forum. These players are on the ranking list. Or they are not on the ranking list, but they are also the reincarnations of the gods. Countless new universe players have joined the game, and even these players will have a huge impact on them, which is actually expected by these former gods. However, Chen Ronghuo suddenly appeared, and when the new universe players just joined the game and had a huge advantage, he challenged the so-called God-killing alliance, which was something they had never expected. At this moment, countless former gods were worried. They were not worried that Chen Ronghuo would fail to challenge the God-killing alliance, but that Chen Ronghuo would succeed. On the current ranking list, Chen Ronghuo, who was known as the Gods Kneeling, stood out at level 35, and might even be upgraded again soon. In addition to Chen Ronghuo, there is an all-round old monster with the same level as Chen Ronghuo. After that, the third-ranked Ming Shen has not even reached the third level yet. The gap between them can be said to be clear at a glance. If Chen Ronghuo succeeds in provoking the God-slaying alliance again at this time, how much will Chen Ronghuo gain this time? With such a big gain, how high will Chen Ronghuo's level soar? Perhaps the fourth level is not far away. If Chen Ronghuo's cultivation level soars to the fourth level in one fell swoop, they are still hanging around at the second level, which is really too embarrassing. However, embarrassment is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that once Chen Ronghuo breaks through to the fourth level, the God's game will be updated again, allowing the fourth level ability players in the new universe to log into the game. Then what are they playing? It can be said that Chen Ronghuo alone has almost disrupted all their plans. Xi'an City. As players died one by one in Chen Ronghuo's hands, and each player contributed multiple experience points of wild monsters of the same level to him, his 8 professions gradually reached the critical point of upgrading. Whoosh! With the sword light in his hand, after quickly killing one person again, the experience points Chen Ronghuo gained were enough for him to upgrade all 8 professions. However, he did not choose to upgrade. Instead, he accumulated all the experience points. His level is now enough to support his action. If he raises his level too high, because of the restrictions of the rules, the experience points he gets from killing those second-level practitioners will be further reduced, which is not in his interest. Maybe after this action, I can break through to the fourth level in one fell swoop. Chen Ronghuo thought with interest. When he breaks through to the fourth level, he will use the divine power crystals he got from Yuningbing before, and his level will definitely be further improved. By then, he will be 20 levels lower than the second place in the level ranking. I don't know what the gods of the past will do at that time, but when thinking about this, Chen Ronghuo is always using ancient books to deduce the arrangement of the God-slaying alliance. Facing tens of thousands or even more second and third level players besieging and killing him, even he dare not really ignore it. As most players on the forum think, he is alone after all. No matter how strong he is, how many people can he kill? Almost done, one last harvest and then run away. Suddenly, just after Chen Ronghuo killed another player who jumped down from the city wall, he suddenly raised his head, looked at the direction of the city wall, and shouted, "Not happy, not satisfied, kill another 100 people." Bang! A late-stage second-level player just jumped down from the city wall, ready to rush towards Chen Ronghuo regardless of life and death. After hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, he suddenly froze in place. Go! On the city wall, the temporary commander Yi Tianmu had a face as cold as water, but waved his hand and directly let a team of 100 people kill Chen Ronghuo. It's almost there. It's almost there. In just 3 minutes, I will make you die without a burial place. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. After receiving Yi Tianmu's order, a large number of players immediately jumped down from the city wall. Meet up with the previous late-stage second-level player and rush straight to Chen Ronghuo to kill. Player Forum. At this moment, many players had already recorded the scene in the form of live broadcast and posted it on the forum. Hundreds of second and third level players rushed straight to Chen Ronghuo, causing countless people to get excited. No matter how strong a person is, there is a limit. No one has ever dared to do this. This time, Chen Ronghuo can be said to have set a precedent. Minute by minute. Seeing hundreds of players coming, Chen Ronghuo also did not dare to neglect. With a thought, he suddenly divided the chaos flying sword into dozens of strands. Dozens of sword lights flashed rapidly in the void, forming a faint sword array. The sword light in the sword array shot out continuously, seemingly turning into layers of mountain shadows, and with incomparable power, it suppressed and killed the players. Ah! A howl sounded in the sword array. As long as the sword light falls, no player can block Chen Ronghuo's sword. But this time, because there were too many people, a player finally attacked, breaking through the obstacles of the sword array, crossing the sky, and blasting towards Chen Ronghuo. Facing these attacks, Chen Ronghuo frowned. Or raise your fist to knock it down. Or use your body skills to avoid it. All attacks did not cause any harm to him. However, this scene made Yi Tianmu on the city wall, as well as the players on the forum, breathe a sigh of relief. Different from before. This time, they finally saw Chen Ronghuo's limit. You're dead. Yi Tianmu's eyes swirled deeply. He looked at the team below that was getting smaller and smaller under Chen Ronghuo's killing. He waved his hand and said to the other team behind him, be prepared. Since he wants to kill, let him kill him enough. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chaoji Depang. Chapter 585. Chen Ronghuo's eyebrows were tightly knitted. The power of the soul and the power of the sword were combined, acting on the sword formation formed by the chaos flying sword from a distance. The layers of sword shadows, like undulating waves, pressed towards the opposing players. As the players died one by one, the remaining players became fewer and fewer, and gradually the attacks made by the hostile players could no longer break through the sword formation he had set up. Chen Ronghuo calculated the time in his mind. When there were still 3 players in the early stage of the second stage left on the scene, he stretched out his hand and pointed, and the chaos flying sword, which had been divided into dozens of sword lights, instantly merged into one, bringing up a gorgeous and huge sword light, and returned with a swish. However, as this huge sword light returned, the remaining 3 players all bleed from their waists and fell to the ground with a plop. 100 players, not one left. Kill, kill, kill. Suddenly, the shouts of killing were deafening. Just when Chen Ronghuo had just killed the previous 100 players, suddenly, on the distant city wall, like leeches, another 100 players flew down. But Chen Ronghuo just glanced at those people, and then he put the retracted chaos flying sword under his feet. He stepped on the flying sword and flew away. The time was up. If he didn't run away, he wouldn't be in any trouble, but this plan would undoubtedly be greatly discounted. While running away, Chen Ronghuo glanced at De Mumu, who he had used as a mouthpiece before, stretched out his hand, and an invisible sword energy was emitted, shooting into De Mumu's heart, and with a puff, he was sent out of the game. De Mumu's injuries had reached the point where there was no return. If Chen Ronghuo didn't take action, he would die soon. But in that case, it wouldn't be Chen Ronghuo who killed him. What a waste of experience points. Seeing Chen Ronghuo suddenly turn around and run away, the group of players who were about to fight him were stunned, but they reacted immediately. Chen Ronghuo killed so many of them, and when they were about to get ready, Chen Ronghuo actually wanted to escape. In an instant, these people were almost angry to the point of vomiting blood. Kneel down, all gods, you stand still. Number 1 on the level list. Shameless, you don't keep your word. Hundreds of players rushed up and chased Chen Ronghuo. Damn it! At the same time, Yimu Tianyi, who was standing on the wall, saw Chen Ronghuo suddenly run away. His face was black with anger, and even his nose was a little crooked. There was less than a minute left for them to be completely ready. At this time, Chen Ronghuo suddenly ran away, which could be said to have completely slapped him in the face. However, there was only a little bit left for them to be completely ready. Their arrangement at this time could definitely be called a dragnet. He didn't believe that Chen Ronghuo could escape from such a tight encirclement. Go, all of you. As Yi Tianmu roared, a large number of players suddenly emerged from the walls of Xi'an City. These players ignored the rules of Xi'an City and jumped down from the walls, chasing Chen Ronghuo. There were over 10,000 people, endless. At this time, the number of players rushing out of Xi'an City had exceeded 10,000. These players gathered together to chase Chen Ronghuo. From the sky, it was like a surging crowd. Among them, Yi Tianmu led 5 quintuplets who looked exactly the same in blue and white robes and rushed in front of everyone. But Chen Ronghuo flew with his sword at an incredible speed. No player could catch up with his speed. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. There were players who practiced archery, bent their bows and arrows, and shot arrows at Chen Ronghuo from a distance. Chen Ronghuo did not dodge either. He used the power of his soul to lay an invisible defensive force field behind him. The arrows that fell on the force field actually pushed him faster. In the blink of an eye, Chen Ronghuo disappeared from the scene of the chase by thousands of people. Lock him! Yi Tianmu roared. Secret technique, divine sense. Suddenly, the 5 quintuplets who followed Yi Tianmu, with their green hair flying, released their soul power, faintly fused together, and constructed a mysterious mark. As soon as this mark appeared, it strengthened the perception of the 5 people to the limit. Chen Ronghuo, who had lost his trace from their sight, suddenly appeared in their perception. As long as Chen Ronghuo did not get out of their perception, Chen Ronghuo could not get out of the combat state and could not quit the game. When the 5 girls from the Muling Star domain performed the secret technique, Chen Ronghuo, who was flying in front of them, suddenly felt a strong sense of peeping. However, he did not care about it. Because his strongest trump card for this action is not how strong he is, but the god-level reward he got after breaking through to the 2nd level and being the first to leave the novice town, the White Jade Shuttle Ruler. Moreover, the perception of the 5 girls together is indeed strong. But no matter how strong it is, there is a limit. With his speed, it won't take long to get rid of the 10,000 people behind him. Even if he falls down and uses the secret technique of hiding his breath, he can completely turn himself into a stone. So that the 5 girls can't feel anything unusual. Whoosh! Chen Ronghuo stepped on the flying sword and crossed the sky. Not long after, he saw a team of dozens of players rushing from the front. Kneel down, all the gods. Everyone, disperse quickly, attack one by one, hit him and hold him back. Don't let him leave the combat state. Seeing Chen Ronghuo, the team of players immediately shouted, and at the same time, several people rushed straight to Chen Ronghuo. But among this team of players, more people scattered in all directions to prevent being wiped out by Chen Ronghuo. At this moment, the Xi'an mountains outside the Xi'an city were full of players from the God-slaying alliance. Their team was just one of them. Chen Ronghuo's performance outside the Xi'an city had long been spread throughout the game through the player forum. They all knew that if they wanted to stop Chen Ronghuo with only these dozens of people, they would only be able to send food. But they only needed to use rogue means and attack one by one to prevent Chen Ronghuo from leaving the combat state. When the large army surrounded them and thousands of people rushed forward, Chen Ronghuo would be crushed into dough no matter how tough he was. They didn't let me kill them. Seeing the actions of this team of players, Chen Ronghuo was also stunned, but his actions did not slow down at all. As his body was slightly lifted into the air, the flying sword under his feet suddenly carried infinite sword light, like a mighty river, piercing forward. After killing several people who were unable to resist, the sword light suddenly drew a half-moon arc in the void. This half-moon sword light killed 7 or 8 people who were fleeing in all directions in an instant. After killing this small team in one blow, Chen Ronghuo retracted the flying sword, quickly separated a trace of consciousness, and landed on the ancient book in the Soul Sea. The God-slaying alliance wanted to use the method of large-scale encirclement to deal with him, but it depended on whether the ancient book agreed. In a moment, Chen Ronghuo determined the best position to break the deadlock, and immediately turned the sword light and flew in one direction. With a flying sword in hand, thousands of players were in vain. Chen Ronghuo flew with the sword, half-turned his body, and shot out sharp sword lights with his fingers. In a short time, he killed several panicked players again.